Welcome, everybody, back to the Just Three Dents podcast here on the Biconics Wrestling Podcast channel here on YouTube. We are so excited to be here. We are, of course, part of Vibe Tribe Productions, which we are supporting so much nowadays because we had a whole big week of just shifting everything over. So be happy we're all here. I say we all. Mikey's here. JVL's here. We're both here without the professor because he chose, I don't know, life outside of this. I don't get that. I don't know about you. But we're here to review AEW Dynamite from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada on the 8th of May. And we are giving our opinions. They are our opinions based on the show. We are not experts overall, but we have watched quite a bit of wrestling and we have thoughts on what goes on. So if you don't like that or you don't know what's going on with that, stick around for a little bit longer, see if you agree with us, drop a comment down if you don't. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that alert bell as well to get all of our content. We drop stuff every day. You can also follow us on BC WrestlePod at all of the socials. And you can follow us along with us because we're going to be doing live watch-alongs soon for a couple of big pay-per-view events for AEW or other big companies. And actually, if you're going to be next week, when, obviously this drops this week, but next week, literally next week, the East Coast contingent and Mikey are going to be going to New Jersey Wrestle Show in Middletown Township, New Jersey. We'll be in person at a table hoping to meet all of you and say hello and just prove we're real people. We're there. It's going to be great. I think that's it, Mikey. Do we have anything else? Merch coming soon, I believe. And I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing.
Yes. So to coincide with AEW Dynamite, next Wednesday, we will have the launch of the official BC WrestlePod shop. Your one stop for all of the t-shirts and everything else you could think of that have been inspired by all the things that we have got going. I've been working on a couple of designs, so if you watch our ROH review, there's going to be a t-shirt so you can represent all the Squatch matches.
Not the I don't like fun t-shirt for Jesse?
That's in the works. I need to get some things approved by Jesse before we use any of that, but a lot of stuff is coming and it's going to be fun. I'm excited.
So get that merch when it comes out there. It really helps support us so we can actually go to more events like this, meet you, and do fun things like meet each other in person. That's a huge deal for all of us. But Mikey, we got to dive in here. There was a lot of Dynamite to get to. This was after the extended edition last week that we watched, which was 3.5 hours. We saw the Gollum, story all the way through. We had to, watch a bunch of, basically it was Lord of the Rings. We did watch The Return of the King tonight because there were false endings, all these things. It was ridiculous. But it started with a backstage promo setting up the evening because Adam Copeland setting up the Cope Open, and it's going to be a no DQ match between him and Brody King, thanks to Tony Khan back in Jacksonville in central, AEW land. Intense as always, Adam Copeland, way to get the show started, especially in Edmonton.
I mean, I was excited when we got this as a no DQ. I was just like, all right, let's see how crazy we're going to get. And sure enough, it did.
It went there, and we jumped right into the new EVP-centric, titles and everything else like this. And before we get into the matches, Mikey, I gotta say, I don't know if you noticed this the entire time, but between the news stories that we had coming out of this, both the ROH tapings and AEW, and just watching what happened tonight, Edmonton, what up with y'all? I mean,
they went full nuck if you buck territory. I was just like, and I know Canada can get pretty wild sometimes, but this, I was uncomfortable with what I saw from the crowd. Yeah. And then on top of that too, sharing the news story that I did with my ROH boys this morning made me very upset.
Watch the ROH review tomorrow for that one because one of our favorites got a little harassed. But this was a crazy night anyways. I'm pretty sure half the fans that were in there were already drunk by the time this started because obviously there was a push. The Edmonton Oilers, which are a hockey team for those of you that have joined us via the Cthulhu-esque algorithm just looking for wrestling, are taking on the Vancouver Canucks to get into the Stanley Cup Finals. Again, all words about hockey. It's a championship. That's what's happening. And so the fans were not able to what they usually do, which is watch those games in the stadium that the Oilers play in because AEW was there. Obviously, no one could plan for this, but that's what ended up happening. So they were rowdy. They wanted hockey, they wanted a bunch of other stuff, and they wanted their wrestling. It was crazy.
Oh, Canada.
That's how that song starts. Yeah, I got that.
Yep.
To cap this off, I wrote down as they're panning the crowd to even start this match, as Orange Cassidy's music hits, Guy just pulls aside his girlfriend, partner, person next to him's shirt, exposing her boobs right on TV. So, welcome to live TV. That was always fun, but this is how we got into Orange Cassidy versus Trent Beretta in basically a blood feud. Was boobs being exposed? Hooray!
I'm just like.
I mean, a lot of people were like that as well. And she seemed like she was both upset at it, but also, if you watched her later in the night, she was into a lot of other stuff. She was grabbing at Saraya, doing a bunch of other stuff across the way. It was a rowdy crowd. I love that commentary called out that Paul Turner was basically being lenient by saying, we were never going to call this as a regular match. It's a blood feud, so let them go out into the crowd for more than a 20 count and hit each other with a bunch of stuff. And, this Dom Phallus appeared, giant Dom Phallus, a little bit erect for the most of it to fill in for Taz for the evening. And I'm not sure what this storyline has to do with him. Like, I really don't get why he's involving himself with Orange Cassidy at all. I mean, I don't know if you've picked something up that I haven't, but this makes no sense.
No, I am trying to figure out why he is involved in this feud, because I feel that everybody involved in this is Orange, Trent, Chris, Rocky, Romero, and Chucky T. Like, those are the 5 people in here, but I don't get why Don Callis is in this. And there has been nothing on Dynamite, nor Collision, nor Rampage to kind of give me a reason why. And I'm trying to figure out why Don Callis is semi-recruiting Orange Cassidy. Did we just throw Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher to the side? So I'm like, oh yeah, don't forget, we got to build towards Will and Roddy. I don't know. I feel like
but at the same time, you're trying to get you're trying to get Orange in this. Trent Beretta is the bad guy in this. He's the heel. So like, why would Dom be going after the good guy?
I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I don't know if Don Callis is trying to get Orange to turn. We know it's probably not going to happen, but who knows? You would think that he would go after Trent to be a part of this whole entire stable. It doesn't make any logical sense of why you would go towards Orange.
And
I don't know.
It's
It's weird.
Do that, and it's a little crazy. To the match itself, Orange Cassidy hurdling the barrier and then putting his hands in his pockets was amazing. I loved that move. I love Don Callis talking about the quit the business chops he was getting, basically, like really hard stuff there. Trent was working Cassidy over, hitting him with hard, stiff shots with knees and such, and honestly just gets distracted and gets a roll-up. Cassidy ends up winning this, somehow pulls it out. But we did hear that from Medical, and I cannot tell if this is actually true or not. Good job in AEW if they're going to be working us on this, but Chucky T specifically may have a career-ending injury to his ankle. I thought it could have been worked, but it sounds legitimate. It's what he's been dealing with pretty much all year.
That would kind of be unfortunate if Chucky T can no longer wrestle. I do hope, for the sake of it, it is a storyline and a thread for the story that we're telling. But
yeah,
at this point, the lines have been blurred so much in AEW, like, I don't know anymore.
The whole thing with Hangman Page, they had to retract that because people were actually worried, and now people are worried about Chucky T, so I'm not sure.
AEW fandom is weird.
They really are. We care, but they're also terrible.
Yeah.
Just like the next folks on our list, because we care, but they're also terrible. The Elite pull up in their giant vehicle looking for a parking spot, and they park in Tony's spot because he's not there. You know what? I was worried about these vignettes. I was worried about this stuff going forward, and you know what? They're not doing Vince McMahon level of Attitude Era stuff. They're making it funny, very tongue-in-cheek, and they're actually playing up to what's going on.
Agreed. And I like this. I love these little vignettes, and if we talk about it a little bit for as short as it was, I'm like, oh my gosh, did Jack Perry actually cut a promo I liked? I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, his promo afterwards was both good and also I couldn't help myself. as a man with long hair, I also have to remember, but he pulled it back for once, and I'm like, oh, is he getting ready for something? Should I be like, position it? No, I've watched too many other videos like that. That's not what happens there. So, but still.
That's for another conversation.
That's for the after hours one right there. Yes. But Jack Perry, he's laser focused, and he wants to prove why he's not a bad guy. He's definitely worthwhile being in this company, and Tony Khan was wrong to do what he did to him. And then we get Kenny from the ER.
That was wild.
This was back to back to back as well. No commercial breaks, nothing else. This was everything we got in the span of 10 minutes. It was just insane. But Omega basically saying, well, at Double or Nothing then, we're going to have an Anarchy in the arena match with the Elite in general facing FTR and 2 people of their choosing. And things were swirling around. Who could they pick to be on Team AEW? This smells like old WCW days, but when we get later in the night, we have some interesting matches happening there, I think.
We have some interesting choices, and well, I'm a reserve when we talk about this. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. I think that it's an interesting choice for them to do, and we'll talk about that there, but at least they kept us engaged with that, like you don't know who it could be. There was no way to kind of pick that out. I'm just going through my notes here, Mikey. I'm like, it was like back to back to back to back to back to back promos.
There was a lot of space between the first and second match of the evening.
It's almost like they're trying to like smash all the booking things they had to do over the last couple of weeks into the last 2 weeks before Double or Nothing. Because, oh God, we forgot, and we have all this other stuff to set up. Yeah,
and not to, because we're talking about Dynamite, but this is just a thing on some of the other reviews too. And, you know, last night, when the video's out this morning, the NXT boys talked about this a lot. And we talk about this a lot in general, because NXT also has this problem that Dynamite does, where pacing is all over the place every single week. Like, some weeks it'll be fantastic, which is a good, healthy mix of promos, backstage segments, and matches. Sometimes we get a lot of matches. Some don't necessarily need to be there, in my opinion. But then there are other weeks where we get like maybe 4 matches and a bunch of promos and backstage segments. And they always are so unbalanced as we get closer to a pay-per-view. And that's what Dynamite's problem is. It's like we start, like, it fluctuates between good and bad pacing. But then we got to cram in everything in like the week of the pay-per-view.
Right, exactly. And then all of a sudden you're like, why is nobody like on board? Yeah, the wrestling's going to be good, but no one's
the stories are not there for most of these.
Well, and not being emotionally attached talks about our next promo anyways, because we have Serena Deeb coming out in the dress the pantsuit that she wore when she talked to RJ City, and gives one of the most wooden and stilted promos I've ever heard. And the worst part for me is that the content of it was heartbreaking and really should have like made me care more, and it didn't.
So, to speak on what JVL is talking about, the context of which Serena Deeb gave this promo, because she's been gone for almost, what, a year and a half?
A year and a half,
yeah. Right? And so we were wondering where she had went. And then, of course, rumored reports were circulating that she was butting heads with Tony Khan and how the women's division was being booked in AEW across the shows and whatnot. And so a lot of people, including ourselves, speculated that, you know, she was being quote unquote punished and not being able to be on TV. While those conversations may have happened, the crux of why she missed a lot of television came to light during this promo. She dropped a huge bomb on everybody that was watching. And for myself and JVL, we both had to pause when we were watching this and kind of take it in. But Serena Deeb had 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 different seizures over the course of a year and a half. And you could tell it still affected her in the sense that she had to take a pause to let that sink in before she continued talking about, you know, without going into too much detail, how much that hindered her wrestling and just affected her both physically and mentally, and in, you know, whatever she subscribed to emotionally and spiritually too. Like, I had a pause.
The fear was there.
Yeah, I had a pause because I couldn't believe. I was like, did she say what I think she said? Hold up. I had to sit there.
I rewound it. I had to listen to it again.
Me too.
The other part that got me, the reason why I said it was wooden though, is she came out and like you could tell there were spots that she had built in to wait for a reaction, and she turned to listen for the reaction that wasn't there. And so she had put the beats of this together, and that's why it fell kind of flat, even though the content was so heartrending in that respect, and like how much she has come back from to be here. She sets up that she can't lose this title. She shouldn't be able to lose this title. She's worked so hard to be here. She's got something invested in it. Toni Storm appears and is outrageous as usual, which completely overshadows Serena Deeb against her. And I think that hurt her a bit more in that promo until she lays her out. Just full on clocks her. Which brings out Luther, which means that for the next match, she's not going to be around, which is great. I did ask myself, are we getting Wendy Richter in Serena Deeb's corner maybe? I mean, she's been called out multiple times by Toni Storm. I feel like we have to have a Wendy Richter sighting at some point.
I think so, but, I think Wendy Richter might be a little bit different, but I have to take a big pause. We're going to bring any sort of legendary status, whether that be wrestler or any other form of entertainment or any other like older legend of whatever craft they want to decide to do, because I still have trauma from last year's Double or Nothing when we brought in a legend.
Yeah.
And we saw how that worked out.
It didn't work. It didn't work at all.
No, and I still have PTSD from Double or Nothing. That was my worst pay-per-view last year because I hated everything about it.
I mean, that's to say that for this year, they have a very low bar to hit, but I'm worried they're going to go under that bar in certain respects. Who knows?
Oof, so bad.
We transfer from there, though, over to Lexi backstage. It's Lexi. I'm happy to see her. Where's Renee? It's Canada. But it's Lexi. I'm so happy to see her. As Orange Cassidy is nursing his injuries from the hit before. No Dom Fallis anywhere. And Rocky Romero ends up coming in saying, hey, I just got told by Tony Khan, if I beat Jay White tonight, then I can get a shot at the trios title. And then it could be you and me. And we could find like someone like we could get Chucky if he's better, or Stat maybe, or like we can go and see if we can get Trent and stuff like that. And Cassidy flips out. I was like, no, we're not doing Trent. I'm in a blood feud with Trent. What are you thinking, Rocky? And Rocky is just, he's a little off of it, but he's like, he can do it. He can do it. And I guess I like this promo, but still.
As soon as he said that he's going after Jay White, I was like, oh, Mr. Azúcar, I love you, my little sweet, sweet Rocky Romero. You are not winning this match, not against Jay White. I'm sorry.
No. And spoiler, he didn't.
No.
It was one of the better matches of the evening, but no, he didn't. No Trent, no nothing else. It was kind of it felt like a filler thing just to tell you what was going on later in the evening, which they did on commentary anyways. We could have skipped that pretty easily. We jump right in though. Mariah May takes on Harley Cameron in one of her third or fourth match ever, and first on Dynamite, and no backup for Mariah May because Toni Storm was laid flat by Serena Deeb. So how is this going to go down? I also noticed that Harley's ring gear, for all of the fashion that it was, she was definitely protecting her chestal region, because I would not want to slap where those the metal spikes were, and Mariah May did a couple times. It was really kind of hard.
Harley Cameron probably had conversations with Scarlett in WWE of what happens when you don't protect, plan A and plan B. It's so bad. It could hurt.
This wasn't the best match in the world. Harley was very lucky to be in there with Mariah May, who could take her to a very fun place. And yet Soraya's smoke and mirrors on the outside, keeping the crowd going, definitely helped out. But you can tell, she's a mouthpiece right now. She's got some instincts, but I don't think she's ready for big time yet.
No. But I'm excited to see Harley grow, because she's grown on me over the since sticking her with the Outcasts. I've actually really enjoyed how nuts Harley has gotten, and it's been kind of great.
Yeah.
This match was hard for me to watch because I was more focused on, it looked like Saraya was about to fight some people in the crowd, because they were getting a little handsy with her, and she's like, I need y'all to back up. I'm
pretty sure one of the ones was the guy that also had the thing with Sky Blue. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm just like, Canada, what's going on tonight? It was so
Edmonton
off-putting.
Specifically, it was just the crowd was wild, and there were kids there in the front row doing the worst things ever too. I'm like, you're learning from somebody.
It's bad.
Yeah. And Mariah May ends up beating Harley Cameron pretty soundly, which is nice. Then Saraya jumps right in. They start beating her up together. No one's coming down to save her. There was definitely a miscue on the timing there. They cut to the ramps before the music's hitting. No one's down there. We cut back. They cut over. And Mia Shirakawa comes down. And
Love Venus.
Gotta love it. They have the champagne. There is a "I'm here for Mariah May" sign in the back. And if you look really far in the top row, "And now kiss" was on a sign. And Mariah pointed to it and goes, "No, no, no." And they had their champagne and got out of the ring. Everyone's got this gimmick. The gimmick is over. I can't wait for the tug of war between Tony and Shirakawa. I mean, on that. So it's gonna be interesting and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat crow on that one. And I was like, because at first I wasn't totally behind this, and now I'm like, no, I could kind of dig it.
I think it's going to be one of the better female storylines going forward, because unless Willow and Mercedes performs well, which I don't know after all these promos we've had, that's probably where we're going next. Which is going to be, my attention is going to be drawn. We then go backstage again. Pac is being interviewed by Lexi about, we have no idea because he gets 3 words in and all of a sudden he's interrupted by Jay White. Gotta say, never seen Pac that dry before. He definitely hadn't showered or anything else. And there was a meme going around where it's like, he looks like Seth Rollins a little bit, which is kind of funny, but still. Pac interrupted. I don't know how I feel about this. He just came back. They're not treating him like actual, dangerous, apparently, or at least Jay White wasn't.
I mean, I feel that there's a lot of start and stop with this because, over, what was it, a week ago or this past weekend, Penta, cut a promo saying that Ray wasn't able to be at their show because he's hurt. I was like, but he just came back.
I know, he literally had a match.
I don't know what's going on. I feel that the plan is to get Death Triangle involved in some capacity, but because I don't know what's going on with Phoenix and Penta and the Lucha Brothers in general, so I feel that we're slowly taking a detour by having Pac go up against Jay White and then maybe get the trios. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It was like he had a baller match against Okada at Dynasty and then
nothing.
Yep.
Whereas I'm happy that Pac is getting the singles run, because as much as I love Death Triangle, he is such a good wrestler on his own. I want him to get a singles push, but this is just, it seems muddled at most, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it makes me sad that Pac, I'm happy to have him back, but now it's the same thing. It's like we have a return, you have a baller match at a pay-per-view, and now you get lost in the shuffle.
Kind of like our next thing right there, because our champion got that, because we had the Elite doing their promo quickly on Kenny Omega and everyone else, and then setting up that Swerve is in the ring, doesn't even get the entrance, kind of, and Swerve's going to talk to Christian. He promised he wouldn't come alone. Christian Cage comes out with the patriarchy. They go back and forth. Mogul Embassy appear to back up Swerve, and they turn on him. They go
that was
full
wild.
On. It was great. Brian Cage calling the shots, saying, he should have been the one running this in the first place. Swerve getting his butt kicked, and I'm like, good, okay. But I don't want him to be the underdog babyface. I want him to still be that weird tweener that, now, and I agree with Ollie Davis on this, he needs to go out and, systematically get revenge on each of the Mogul Embassy members in the worst possible way. So he's still, not a babyface, but he's also not a bad guy. He's our champion, so it might be very fun. I did find it funny that they had to put, because the AEW announcer's desk are so high, they had to put the damn stairs next to them to get up and do the darn thing.
Right.
I don't know. This was a weird promo segment.
This really, really was, because honestly, I would have been down for, the Mogul Embassy taking on Christian and
the patriarchy, yeah.
Yeah, the patriarchy in general. I appreciate the turn, but now, like you mentioned, I am afraid that Swerve is now going to be the underdog. I was like, why do you gotta make the people of color underdog champs? Y'all can just have them just run through everybody and just decimate things. Now, what I'm hoping is that obviously I don't think Christian Cage is beating Swerve at Double or Nothing.
No.
But what I would love to see for Swerve after this is that Swerve needs to pay for all the sins that he has had, because there are still some people who are left who can come back and get Swerve, and then he has to go after Mogul Embassy. My biggest fear, though, is that they're going, for some reason, and knock on wood that this doesn't happen, but I'm afraid that they would have Nana turn on Swerve. I'm like, don't do this to me. I can't have Nana.
You'll ruin the best entrance ever.
Seriously, you cannot have Swerve and Nana be separate.
On top of the fact that, like, this is burying Brian Cage in the gates of agony, because the least little bit of thing that they could do was to be at his side. Now, this does, in a way, fix a plot hole from last week when Brian Cage wrestled on his own and didn't come out to help Swerve when Swerve was getting attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So now we kind of know why, sort of. It fixes that thing. But I don't know. I'm going to have to see the fallout from this to be able to judge it correctly, because I can't, just from it itself, I can't figure out if I'm okay with this yet. I want Swerve to be a big champion. I want Swerve to have his run, and it seems like they're starting it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I need to see more of this, just like I have to see more of, the challenger coming after this particular person's title, with Willow who's talking backstage. I'm so mad, but not at Willow, but I'm just like...
Willow's promo wasn't bad. Willow came on next, and she's got a shiner from the last match she did, talking about the Manitoba Massacre against Sky Blue.
That match on Rampage was baller. So good.
You know what? I enjoyed Rampage for what it was. I was so tired watching it, and it was better than, as we talked about, it was better than anything on Dynamite. That's what it was that night. It was my match of the night.
It really was.
Willow is like, she's physically not there. She calls out Mercedes and like, you really haven't had any substance on this. I want to see you where you are. I want to beat you because I've had the best year of my life. She's right in all the respects, but again, this is the same back and forth promo stuff we've gotten for a month and a half now. Just do the match already. We're kind of bored.
I feel that they pulled the trigger too early for Mercedes to come in and do this whole thing.
Yep.
And
the match should have been a Dynasty.
Honestly, it should have. Or, because we still had Julia and Blue running around somewhere. You could have had a tag team match there, and then, or I don't know, do something where...
Well, the tag team match would have been hard because Stat's there too, so how do you do that with Stat? Unless you're building the whole Stat Willow breakup at that point, which is coming down the road too.
The promo from Willow was fine. I'm just mad because I like the prospect of this being your main event for Double or Nothing, but it's kind of hard for me to want to root for that idea, especially since we've only seen one person out of the two in the feud be on television in the ring wrestling.
And the other one give the same promo or something similar and seem to be out of sorts on how to give a promo nowadays. That's the biggest thing that I've been worried about with Mercedes, is that I think they're right a little bit when they say, like, someone was definitely shepherding her along in the other company. And now that she's out on her own doing it all by herself, she's hitting some pitfalls that people do when they go in the indies, which is they don't have a focus and they just say the same thing over and over because they can't figure out how to stretch a storyline. I don't know, Mikey. It got a little bit strange there, but then we jumped right from that into finally another match. Jay White, Rocky Romero. For all that this was a weird setup, for all the weird stipulations in this, I enjoyed watching these two work. They know how to put a match on.
This was a really fun match to watch, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. They did this in New Japan. This is great to watch too. I'm like... and
this was a bit slower than the New Japan, which is on purpose. They did more methodical things in it, which is great. Jay White taking advantage of Rocky's overzealousness and like getting him off his balance. The one finger pin at the end after the Blade Runner was crazy. I mean, like, seriously.
That was so rude, but so awesome.
I also, like, I have to say this now. Every time I'm getting ready to go in a match and I see the Bang Bang Gang's new entrance, I think it's the House of Black at first because of the, like, ominous music and all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, it's Jay White. That's not right. That doesn't fit.
I've learned a trick to kind of differentiate between the two. Because when House of Black comes in, it's like very metal-ocalypse type of music. And then when I hear the Bang Bang Games theme song, I was like, did we just enter the Wild West? What happened?
It's true. It's very
Plays
true.
the church bell before they get into the theme.
Oy. All right, well, I'll pay attention for that next time so I can actually have that experience because it's not getting there. But yeah, I didn't write down much about this because honestly, it was such a good match to watch that I just wanted to like enjoy it for what it was. But Rocky's getting the crap kicked out of him afterwards, and a wild Pac appears to run Jay White off, and I'm excited for that match. I need that match as soon as possible.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think because of whatever's going on with the Lucha Bros, I think Pac versus Jay is probably going to be the plan, a detour for now until we figure out, eventually when we get a trios of feud between these guys, which is cool and everything. Then I also wondering, I'm like, what happened to the Acclaim?
They put their feet in their mouths? I have no idea.
They got
an exposure
weird
on an AEW documentary recently about like how the scissoring thing came about. So they're definitely being featured, but they need a revamp, some sort.
For sure.
Okay. So that happened, and we skipped to Brody King and Adam Copeland, right? We don't have to talk about the next match at all.
Well, no, we got to do due diligence. But before we talk about what we hated, I want to talk about what I liked. Samoa Joe can read me the phone book, and I'd be intrigued.
Yes. Samoa Joe is intense when he's working out, as intense as he is in the ring. Wonderful things there. Love that to death. And for someone who's basically spinning his wheels, it's great to have a revamp of why he's a monster and see what he comes out against next. I don't know. I can't think of who his next opponent could be. I really can't.
I can't either. But I'm happy that he's still on television. And like I said, he can read me the phone book. He could read me a menu from a diner, and I'd be enthralled by it.
Let's hope it gets to that, because I love seeing that. But we have him leading into the Learning Tree and Large William versus Mo Jabari and Harlan Abbott, local talent. We have a Chris Jericho Vortex of Nothing squash match on our TV screens to set up a promo afterwards. And what the heck was on Chris Jericho's nipple? I need to know.
I'm going to be honest, I kind of tuned out for a lot of this because I was just rolling my eyes.
That I was like, I didn't know if it was a bandage or like it was a tattoo. I couldn't tell.
I rolled my eyes so much during this whole entire match and segment, and that's not fair to our local talent. And I'm like, what did Large William do to deserve this? Did he make somebody mad backstage? Like, why?
He's still paying for something from the other company. It's got to be. He did the majority of the work here. Couple of choke slams, big Uranagis, brings Jericho in for a very light Judas effect that looks terrible, and the pin. The only thing I enjoyed about this, I know the professor probably loved this thing up and down. This is his new favorite gimmick. Was in the promo with Tony Schiavone when they find out that Hook will be back soon after he's doing his whole thing. He absolutely on purpose says the wrong town in Canada to get a reaction, and then also leans into like, "Oh, I'm so glad I won here last time." Out here like they're aware of it. He's aware of it, but it's not helping him. I don't know. I don't like this. I want this to stop.
You're not
the professor wants it to continue.
I'm gonna play neutral part. No, just kidding. I am on the side of you, JVL, in the sense that I want this to stop, but not for the reasons that people might think. I want this to stop because I'm tired of people who allegedly have done really bad things, have done really wrong things to other individuals, and they seem to still get a push, and they still seem to get kudos and rewarded for their behavior. And watching people on the internet react, saying that they like this version of Chris Jericho, and I'm just like, I don't want to be that elitist fan, but
the trolls are out though.
I'm just like, this is not cool. I'm so bored with this. I hate this. I hate that we had to sacrifice Hook. We had to sacrifice Shibata. We had to sacrifice a whole bunch of people to get to this point, and it makes me very sad and angry.
What hurts me is that in all of these matches, there have been moments that have just been spectacular. Shibata in the trash can, the hockey pucks to the face, Hook going up and choking Jericho. Like, There have been good pieces, but they're ruined by the person involved.
What I can't believe I'm saying this. What I think is probably going to lead to is Large William and Chris Jericho will take on Shibata and Hook. And I'm hoping that Hook, Shibata Hook, Katsuyori, Shahook, Shaboopy.
Shook. It'll be Shook.
I want Shook to win the tag team match, but I doubt it.
I doubt it too. I hope there's a moment where Shibata PKs Jericho while he's in the red rum and like just bound to his back, and then that's the knockout.
I hope so.
It's going to be Large William is what's going to happen to it still, but I need less of this. Let's get this over with. Please stop leaning into it. We're done. Get done the Canada tour and knock Jericho out. I'm done with him. Oh boy. I thought this was going to be the end of the night. I'm looking at my screen. I'm like, there's like a half an hour left of the show. Like, this is not going to be a half an hour no DQ match. I don't believe they would do that on Dynamite TV. Brody King against Adam Copeland, and wow, man, Brody, you went full Eddie Guerrero this time in this one. You bled everywhere, and not just like little trickles. Like, you were spurting.
I was like, as soon as he got hit, busted open, I was like, that thing, like TLC's Waterfall was playing in the background. It's just like, holy crap. I was like, not a squirt, not a thing, but just, I thought I was watching The Evil Dead for a hot second.
Rightly called Crimson Mask, and I don't know how Brody was still moving around like that. He was definitely losing steam on a lot of this. This was your typical Adam Copeland no DQ match. You had all the different spots, chair shots to the back, people running into the barricade. That barricade spot was crazy. Copeland got out of the way at the last minute as Brody King came across with the crossbody.
That man flew into the barricade. I was like,
you had table spots. Basically, they're building up to him going through a fiery table, I'm pretty sure. You had missed spear spots. You had an execution. You had a couple of things. You had the crossface with the bar in the mouth. Like, he hit all the greatest hits of his no DQ matches and barely picked up the win in this one.
I hope, and because it's a DQ match, I think it still kind of tells the story of what we've been seeing from Copeland, kind of going a little bit nuttier and crazier and being more deeply paranoid.
Maybe bloodthirsty?
A little bloodthirsty because of everything. And then everything that happened after the match, I was just like, oh, so we're going to fully see an evolution to this, because what we get set up for Collision this Saturday, I'm like, oh, you poor man. You are about to be the catalyst to a darker chapter in Adam Copeland's AEW career.
Oh, Kyle O'Reilly. Before that, also, Malachi Black's tape promo, that was one of the best setup promos I've seen in a long time.
So good.
Well done on whoever put that package together.
So good, but I thought this was a really, really fun match. I loved this. It was the greatest hits, and I'm just like, you can never go wrong with Brody King. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. The man is more agile than you give him credit for, smart as heck, plays the crowd, and will sacrifice himself for his opponent in a lot of different ways, and he definitely did here. I hope he got a transfusion backstage, because he definitely lost a couple pints of blood.
Tony, just to make this even better, I need you to book it, you coward. Give me Willow and Brody King immediately.
Lovely. Or have them on a team in a mixed match challenge.
Or have Willow go to Bloodsport and just have, you know what? Just give me Brody King, Masha Slamovich, and Willow Nightingale in a match. That's all I want to see.
We'll get there at some point, I promise. But yeah. We then, so as I described, that was our main event. We had that whole match. We had the beatdown afterwards. Kyle O'Reilly saves one. I'm like, okay, where's the Chiron? End of the no.
Still had like 8 whole minutes.
Yeah, well, we have. That's weird. Well, maybe it's just it's a final angle somewhere. It'll be perfectly fine. No, we got the friggin' Return of the King with 17 endings, and only one of them was good. Because we cut backstage to a pre-tape with Mercedes Moné, where she spends 4.5 minutes saying the same thing she said last week, the same thing she said the week before, a couple of different things, like she's when she's not room for the Red Sox, she's getting ready for things. No one cares. Just wrestle already. You have no dynamic to your promos anymore. It's the same tired stuff. Why are we here?
I blame booking for this one, and I already said it, so I'm not going to go into too much more detail again. But I feel they pulled the trigger on her return too early.
Yes.
I feel like she should have. I know you were in Boston. I know you were at big business. I know it's her home city. But honestly, I think you should have had her debut as soon as Willow won that title at Dynasty, and then have her come out for the big pop moment.
Exactly. Or honestly, big business, she should have been out there in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been fine. But that was that. And I thought, okay, well, it wasn't terrible. I don't know why they put it there, but that should be the end of, no, there's another promo. But it's Lexi. And Lexi's okay. I like Lexi. She's got Adam Copeland backstage. Kyle O'Reilly comes back out and he thanks him for having his back. And basically says the only reason he did it was to get a title shot. And Cope sets him up for one. And we get those looks and the little grin that old Edge used to have. We're getting Brood Adam Copeland style. This is going to be very interesting. He's going to basically bathe in Kyle O'Reilly's blood.
I'm excited. Me and Adolfo get to cover that as the 3-hour block once again this week is now with Collision and Rampage. I'm ready for the stupid NBA to be over because it's exhausting doing 3-hour blocks.
Hey, I know. We did it last week when it somehow was over Dynamite.
You did 1 out of 3. Me and Adolfo have been 2 and 3, and now we're doing 3 for 3 with this week.
There you go. You get what you pay for. At least, they do it better than, the 3-hour block on Mondays do, so I'm okay with that.
We'll talk a little bit after that, because I actually thought this week's Raw was actually pretty good.
I agree with you on that one, but that's beside the point. We thought we were done there. Okay, we set up the collision. It's going to be fine. No, the Bucks come out, the Elite come out, and they actually call it out. Yeah, we're done here. We talked to Tony. We're going over. We have a little time. We need to talk about stuff. Okada says get well soon to Omega as the best bout machine. Mwah, love that. They call it FTR. They call out everybody else that's been going after them, and no one's going to stop them. Who are they going to get? Who's going to have the balls to stand up to the Elite? FTR obviously comes out and says, we found some people that have more balls than you. Their tag team partners for Anarchy in the Arena are Eddie Kingston and a returning Bryan Danielson, who I thought was out with injury for a while. This is a super match now. And I am worried Okada's going to break something else on Danielson for some reason. Because he's 2 for 2.
That is very, very true.
Yes. What?
I like
no, don't.
I like Team AEW, the way that it's stacked up. I'm like, cool. Not necessarily the people I would have picked, but you know what? I'm okay with it, I guess. I don't want to say I'm bitter because it's kind of out of the realm of possibility. I honestly thought if you wanted to do something crazy, because, FTR and the Bucks have this unfinished business of a feud, an unquenchable rage against each other. I feel like because you have Okada and the Bucks and Jack Perry, I'm not saying that pulling Kingston and Danielson into Team AEW was a bad choice, but I feel that you could have thrown the Elite for a loop by having them face someone, and it could have been a really good plot thread. It was like the Bucks complaining, is like, we weren't ready. These are not AEW wrestlers. Yeah, and this is a little biased because of the rumored reports, but I don't care. I think you should have held off until Double or Nothing to announce the team, and who knows, it might still be this way because we got 2 weeks, and because the Bucks are known for being very heinous when it comes to making sure they get their way now that they're in the EVP roles. I still think that FTR should have the Motor City Machine Guns pop in, because then you have those 3 in a feud for those freaking tag titles, since the rest of your tag team division is kind of non-existent right now in AEW.
Go figure.
And honestly, I would love to see the Bucks be like, no, we did not lose that match. We're going to scrub this from the record. These are not AEW wrestlers. We didn't prepare for them.
And Tony or Kenny comes on and goes, oh no, they've been all Elite for months now.
It's just that we didn't tell you squat.
Because we know better. Nicholas and Matthew.
That is very true. I mean, I like it, Danielson and Kingston being part of FTR. I would have picked some other maybe singles wrestler. I would have thought, again, because, who knows, he's probably taking some time off, but Angry Hangers Hangman being a part of this team would have been
Well, so
fantastic.
that's the thing I don't know if they're going to do, because they're setting this up now that maybe Hangers is going to come back with the Bucks to go against Swerve.
There are so many twists and turns right now in this whole Elite storyline. And, okay, how do I put this nicely? I like this entry because it's different for AEW, but if we're going to go all Elite, I feel that Team AEW, if you want me to care, like Danielson and Kingston, I know are over with the fans, but I feel that you should have picked, because you probably don't want to pick younger talent, but I would have picked some other male superstars to be on that AEW team to represent against the Elite. Like, I know Orange is dealing with Trent, but Orange would have been great if he was dealing with Trent. You need to find the wrestlers that are the heart and souls of AEW. FTR is a perfect pick, and I can totally explain that because, you know, they bleed AEW. This is their thing. Right. And I'm just looking at Kingston and Danielson. I was just like, that's cool and everything. But when I think of AEW, I don't necessarily think of you. Now, obviously, the other choices are all out on injury in some capacity. And one of them is on the side of the Elite. Had Darby not gotten hurt, I would have put Darby in this match.
Honestly, I mean, you could switch out Kingston and put Mox in there. Mox would make more sense.
That's what I said, but Mox is busy being IWGP champion at the moment.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, Mikey, we've come to the end of another Dynamite, and luckily it was only 2 hours this time. I would love to hear what your empanada rating was for this very strange, very promo-heavy episode we saw, because we kind of blew through it pretty quickly.
We did.
There was not a lot of filler that I would think, just a lot of fluff.
It's like, yeah. You know, I still enjoy myself, so I want to preface by saying that before I give this rating. I enjoyed myself, but if I have to be, you know, using my critical eye on this one, I give this a 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
I think, and a 6 out of 10 isn't necessarily bad. It's just a very fillery episode. I thought the beginning and the ending is probably where if we had to do a highlight clip show to recap what this episode was, I feel that the beginning and the end of what the show was great. And everything in between was not horrible, but it could have been a lot better. So I give this a 6.5.
I'm there with you as well. I think that this was entertaining. I definitely didn't turn away or wasn't bored, but it wasn't anything that kept me engaged to the point of I'm really excited about this. So I'd give it about a 6 as well. This was just kind of middle of the road, which this close to a pay-per-view, I think is probably not the best way to go. But what do you think out there? What do you
always
think
have this
about
problem?
I know. But what do you think out there in BC WrestlePod land out there? We'd love to know what you think about this week's Dynamite. Please drop it in the comments. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't, whether or not you like promo fests like this or you like something a little different like that. We always want to hear it. If you joined us by our blood sacrifices to that weird elder god that we told we needed more people, we really appreciate you being here. Hope you had fun. Tell your friends, share the video around. And honestly, remember one thing, because we tell this to everyone that's been here a lot, and Mikey, you know this as well. Here, we're Biconic. Every one of us. You, me, Mikey, everyone. And we'll see you in the next video.
Bye. You look like a character in Naruto. Not gonna lie.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like I'm talking to a picture in real life. Oh. This is a beautiful picture. This is a beautiful shot. Mariah Mayonnaise, we are live on the air.
Thank you for using my chosen name tonight.
Yes,
God.
We respect all the mayonnaise in the household.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.